I stare at the oak dining table, my fingers suddenly numb. The expensive crystal wine glass slips from my grasp and tumbles. Crimson liquid blooms across my mother's pristine white tablecloth, the one she's kept for special occasions since I was a child. What did you just say? My voice sounds distant, hollow. Ryan and Chloe exchange glances across the table, their expressions a perfect blend of feigned sympathy and poorly hidden satisfaction. We thought you knew, Chloe says, her voice dripping with sweetness. Mom and Dad updated their will last month. Since you have such a successful career now, they decided Ryan and I need more help getting on our feet. Dad keeps his eyes fixed on his plate, methodically cutting his steak into perfectly uniform pieces. The knife scrapes against the china with each precise movement. His silence speaks volumes. Walter, for heaven's sake, Mom says, dabbing at the spreading stain with her napkin. Say something to your daughter. Dad clears his throat but doesn't look up. Your mother's right, Camille. You've done well for yourself. Your brother and sister still need our help. The room blurs slightly at the edges as I think back to last week. Mom's unexpected phone call after months of silence. Her voice had been honey-sweet, unusually warm. We miss you so much, sweetheart. It's been too long. Come for dinner Friday? I'd been suspicious but hopeful. Maybe things had changed. Maybe the years of distance had softened something between us. I'd even stopped at that little winery in Woodinville, spending too much on a bottle I thought Dad would appreciate. 9 years of minimal contact, punctuated only by calls when they needed something. Money for the leaky roof, money for Chloe's car troubles, money for Ryan's business opportunity, and each time I'd said yes. I've given you $55,000 for condo renovations. I say quietly, watching Mom's face. The room goes still. I've made monthly payments of $1,900 for 7 years to cover Ryan's failed restaurant venture. I look at my brother, whose smirk falters. That's over $200,000 total, not counting smaller loans that were never repaid. Mom waves her hand dismissively, silver bracelets jangling. You always bring up money. This is about family, about love. We've always been there for you emotionally, Camille. My hands stop trembling. I place my napkin on the table with deliberate care, smoothing it flat with my palm. When? I ask. When what, darling? Mom's perfect eyebrows arch. When were you there for me emotionally? When Dad missed my college graduation for Ryan's baseball game? When you told me my promotion was just luck? When you both refused to visit me in the hospital after my surgery? Ryan and Chloe exchange knowing smiles, exactly as they'd practiced. I recognized the look. They'd expected my reaction, planned for it. The realization washes over me with stunning clarity. This dinner was never about reconnection. It was an ambush. Now you're being dramatic, Dad says, finally looking up from his plate. We've always supported you. Remember when we let you live at home for 3 months after college? You charged me rent, I say. $800 a month, in 2009. Mom sighs theatrically. See? This is why we don't get together more often. You always turn everything into an argument. The weight of years crashes down on me. Every check I'd written, every family emergency I'd rushed to solve, every call ignored until they needed something. I wasn't their daughter. I was their ATM. I stand slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The sound cuts through the silence like a blade. I need to use the restroom, I say, though what I really need is air. My lungs feel compressed, my chest tight. As I walk away, I hear Chloe whisper to Ryan, not quite quietly enough. Told you she'd make a scene. In the hallway bathroom, I splash cold water on my face and stare at my reflection. The woman looking back at me has shadows under her eyes from years of carrying a family that takes and takes and takes. But there's something else there too, a flicker of something that looks like resolve. For the first time in my adult life, I see my family clearly, and I know exactly what I need to do about it. I leave their house at 10:15, driving to my hotel in a blur of motion. The headlights of passing cars stretch into long, watery streaks. My throat burns with words unsaid, arguments unfinished. My phone pings just as I step into the sterile hotel room. A text from Ryan meant for Chloe lands in our old group chat by mistake. Dinner went perfect. She'll keep paying if we act grateful enough. I sink onto the edge of the bed, breath shallow. My fingers tremble as I scroll up through years of similar messages between them. The evidence unfolds with sickening clarity. Remember to mention the roof leak again. She always pays for emergencies. Got another $1,200 from Camille today. Drinks at Rosario's? Use the voice Mom uses when she asks, sort of breathy and soft. Works every time. I stop scrolling when I find the message from 3 weeks ago. Mom says just make sure she feels important and she'll keep the money flowing. Dad wants a new riding mower. The room tilts around me. Not just my siblings, but my parents orchestrating this manipulation for years. My stomach clenches as I realize how perfectly I played my part, the dutiful daughter desperate for approval. I drive back to their neighborhood an hour later. Rain taps against the windshield as I park across the street from the house. Through the dining room windows, I see them celebrating. Crystal glasses catch the light as they toast. Ryan mimes wiping tears, and they all burst into laughter. I sit alone in darkness, watching the warm tableau of family celebration. The sight of them laughing at me, at my expense, burns itself into my memory. While they drink champagne, I open my banking app. The screen illuminates my face in the dark car as 17 unauthorized charges from Chloe's credit card appear for this month alone. Clothing stores, makeup, a salon appointment just yesterday. I check her Instagram. Recent stories show her modeling new shoes, a designer handbag with the caption, "Family blessings make life sweeter. Grateful." With growing dread, I search my email for property records. The mortgage documents I helped them refinance 3 years ago appear. I read through them carefully now, seeing what I missed then. This wasn't their first refinancing, it was their third. The money I'd given them for essential repairs had funded 2 European vacations and a timeshare in Florida. My retirement account balance stares back at me when I switch apps. The numbers are half what they should be at my age. I've been depleting my savings for years, turning down better job opportunities in Chicago and Austin because they were too far from family. 8 years without a real vacation. 8 years of working weekends to cover my own expenses plus theirs. While I scrolled past photos of Chloe in Cancun, Miami, the Bahamas trips I'd unknowingly funded, the rain falls harder as I remember conversations with my photography mentor. "Your portfolio could take you anywhere," she'd said. "Why are you limiting yourself to local corporate work?" The answer had always been obligation, family, responsibility. Now I see it was exploitation. Through the window, Mom gestures animatedly, probably describing their plans for the small renovations they mentioned casually at dinner, another project they expect me to fund. Dad nods, lifting his glass in another toast. I drive back to Seattle that night, stopping only for gas and bitter gas station coffee that burns my tongue. My apartment feels different when I unlock the door smaller somehow. Or perhaps I'm seeing it clearly for the first time, the sparse furniture, the blank walls where art should hang. The next morning, I install a security camera beside my door. The small black device represents the first boundary I've established in years. I watch the installation tutorial video twice, making sure it's positioned correctly, testing the motion alerts on my phone. With the camera in place, I sit at my kitchen table and open my laptop. In methodical clicks, I cancel every automatic payment to my family: the mortgage supplement, Ryan's business loan, Chloe's temporary help with her car, Mom's credit card payment. The relief that washes over me is physical, as if heavy weights have been lifted from my shoulders. As I drove back to Seattle that rainy night, I wondered if cutting financial ties completely was enough, or if I needed to prepare for their retaliation. Should I silently disappear from their lives, or clearly communicate my boundaries? What would you do when you realize your family only values what you provide, not who you are? 3 days later, my phone buzzes against the nightstand for the 4th time in an hour. I stare at the ceiling, counting the tiny cracks in the plaster rather than checking the screen. The clock reads 3:17 a.m. When I finally glance at the notifications, my stomach tightens. A public Facebook post from Ryan, tagged with every relative and family friend. Hard to believe my own sister would abandon our parents during their financial struggles after everything they've done for her. Some people forget where they came from when success goes to their head. By morning, my voicemail is full. Aunt Patricia's message plays first, her voice wavering between concern and judgment. "Camille, dear, we're all worried about you. Your mother says you've been acting strangely. Call me back." I delete it without responding and scroll through the others. 3 church friends, my father's golf buddy, and finally Pastor Mitchell, whose deep voice carries an unmistakable note of authority. "Camille, the Bible teaches us to honor our father and mother. Perhaps we should discuss your family situation over coffee next week." The texts start at 7:30 a.m. Mom's message arrives with a photo of prescription bottles. Blood pressure medication doubled. Doctor very concerned about my heart. Don't know how we'll afford these new treatments. I block her number before I can respond. Later, at my desk, I open a letter from the county tax assessor that's been sitting unopened for days. The room seems to tilt as I read the notice. $22,000 in tax liens against my name from the vacation property my parents convinced me to co-sign for just as a formality 4 years ago. Sleep becomes a distant memory. I start awake at every notification sound, phantom buzzes jolting me from shallow dreams. During video meetings, clients ask if I'm feeling well. Dark circles have taken up permanent residence under my eyes. I take on 3 extra consulting projects, scheduling work calls during evening hours and weekends. The additional income helps rebuild what I've lost, but exhaustion follows me like a shadow. A month later, I became a zombie. "You look terrible," James says bluntly, sliding a coffee across my desk at the office. "And that's your 4th cup today," he says one Tuesday afternoon. "Thanks for the compliment," I mutter. But my attempted smile feels more like a grimace. "Seriously, Camille, what's going on?" I hesitate, then pull up my banking app, showing him the string of unauthorized charges from Chloe's credit card 17 in the past month alone. "That's just the beginning," I say, opening a folder on my laptop. "I've been documenting everything. Every text, every call, every financial transaction for the past 9 years. The spreadsheet I've created is color-coded and meticulous red for direct cash transfers, blue for loans never repaid, green for joint property entanglements, yellow for unauthorized charges." The total makes James whistle low. "This isn't just family drama," he says slowly. "This is financial exploitation." I nod, the word exploitation landing heavily, validating what I've suspected but couldn't name. That evening, a knock at my apartment door startles me. It's Margaret, my 70-something neighbor, holding a plate of chocolate chip cookies. "Thought you might need these," she says, pressing them into my hands before I can respond. Then quieter. "I cut off my manipulative sister 30 years ago. Best decision I ever made. Your piece is worth more than their approval." She pats my arm and walks away before I can thank her, leaving me speechless in the doorway. 2 days later, I'm returning from a late meeting when I spot a figure hunched by my apartment door. Ryan straightens as I approach, holding a can of expanding foam with a smirk that doesn't reach his eyes. "What are you doing?" I ask, though the answer is obvious from the yellow foam already oozing into my doorframe and lock. "You can't just walk away from family responsibilities," he sneers, gesturing with the can. "Mom's sick. Dad's business is struggling. Chloe needs—" "Family responsibilities?" I interrupt, my voice steadier than I expected. "Is this what family does?" I point to the small security camera installed above my door the day after the dinner, the one currently recording his every move. "That's assault and property damage." I continue, watching his expression shift from smugness to uncertainty. "Family doesn't do that." "You think you're so smart," he sputters, foam dripping onto his shoes. "We'll make you pay for this, one way or another." But something has changed inside me. I don't feel the usual need to explain or justify or plead for understanding. His threats now strengthen my resolve rather than weaken it. The foam expands wildly from the doorframe, growing beyond his control just like their toxic behavior can no longer be contained. Ryan backs away, cursing, as the substance sticks to his hands and jacket. He throws the can at my feet before storming down the hallway. James answers my call immediately. Within an hour, he's at my apartment with a police officer, helping file a report. As the officer photographs the damage, James mentions his sister Sarah. "She's a family law attorney," he explains, "specializes in cases exactly like this." The next morning, Sarah meets me at her office downtown. Her handshake is firm, her office modest but organized. "I offer reduced fees for financial exploitation cases," she explains. "Unfortunately, I see this pattern more often than you'd think." What strikes me most isn't her legal expertise, though that's evident. It's how she listens, truly listens to my entire story, without interruption, without judgment, without glancing at her watch or phone. When was the last time anyone in my family gave me that simple courtesy? Over the next week, I gather everything. Security footage, bank statements, text messages, documented credit charges. I organize it all in a comprehensive file, exactly as Sarah instructed. The final piece arrives unexpectedly. A voicemail from Mom, clearly meant for Ryan but accidentally sent to me. "She's stubborn, but she'll come around." Mom's voice says casually, We never intended to pay her back anyway. Just keep the pressure on. I play it for Sarah, who smiles grimly. That's our smoking gun, she says. My phone lights up that evening with a name I haven't seen in months, Dad Calling. I take a deep breath before answering, my hand no longer trembling. A week later, Walter's face drains of color as I slide the security footage across his polished mahogany desk. Mid-morning light streams through his office blinds, catching the dust motes that dance between us. This shows Ryan vandalizing my apartment door last Thursday at 7:42 p.m. I say, my voice steady and measured. The expanding foam damaged not only my door but the hallway carpet and 2 neighboring units. My father stares at the frozen image on my tablet. Ryan's furious face is perfectly captured in high definition, his arm extended as he sprays industrial foam into my lock. There must be some misunderstanding, Walter murmurs, but his eyes betray him. No surprise, no confusion, just resignation. The property damage totals $3,800. I continue, placing a neatly organized folder beside the tablet. The harassment charges could mean up to 90 days in jail. My attorney has prepared both criminal and civil complaints. Walter pinches the bridge of his nose. Camille, this is family business. We don't need to involve courts. This isn't revenge, Dad. It's consequence. Ryan made a choice. I slide another document forward. The weight of Sarah's legal letterhead carries authority that my words alone never could. I'll drop the civil lawsuit if repair costs and legal fees are paid within 72 hours. The total comes to $28,000. Walter's head snaps up. $28,000? That's extortion. No, that's accountability. Something this family forgot about years ago. My voice remains calm, but inside, a lifetime of suppressed anger crystallizes into resolve. The criminal complaint remains either way. That's not negotiable. Walter stands, his chair rolling backward. This is too far, Camille. Too far. I gather my materials with unhurried precision. You have my account information. 72 hours. As I drive home, my phone buzzes with a flurry of notifications. Diane has launched her counterattack, calling every family friend with her version of events. According to 3 separate text messages, I'm suffering from mental problems and making up stories. By evening, her strategy backfires spectacularly. Melissa Thompson, my mother's oldest friend, calls me directly. Diane says you're having some kind of breakdown. She begins cautiously. But honestly, after watching them ask you for money for years, I just wanted to check if you're really okay. Similar messages follow. People who've witnessed the endless requests for financial help are suddenly questioning my parents instead. My laptop chimes with a social media alert. Chloe has posted a tearful video, mascara artfully smudged, about her cruel sister abandoning the family. The camera angle captures her new designer handbag on the coffee table behind her. Price tag partially visible. Comments flood in within minutes. Didn't you just post about your shopping spree last week? How does someone unemployed afford Gucci? Maybe sell some of those designer clothes before asking for handouts? My phone rings again. It's the police officer handling Ryan's case. Miss Roberts? I wanted to let you know your father came by the station. He tried to convince us the security footage was a misunderstanding. And? We don't consider property damage a misunderstanding. The charges stand. 3 days later, I stare at my banking app, watching as exactly $28,000 appears in my account. The notification glows on my screen like a vindication. When the money appeared in my account exactly 72 hours later, I wondered if I should pursue further legal action or consider this chapter closed. Would complete separation bring peace, or would establishing firm boundaries be healthier in the long run? Sarah arrives at my apartment that evening with a folder of legal documents. Her gray blazer is immaculate despite the late hour. Her expression warm but professional. These papers formally separate your finances from your family, she explains, pointing out signature lines. No joint accounts, no co-signed loans, no shared property. Financial independence in black and white. As I sign the final page, a weight lifts from my shoulders. I should have done this years ago. Better now than never, Sarah says, sliding the papers into her briefcase. James covers my work projects during 2 court appearances the following week, waving away my offers to pay him back. Consider it an investment in my friend's well-being, he says over coffee after the second hearing. Though I reserve the right to borrow your coding expertise next month for that hospital project. Margaret organizes dinner with other neighbors who've broken free from toxic family relationships. We gather around her kitchen table, sharing stories over homemade lasagna. My brother stole my inheritance, says Peter, a retired teacher from 4B. Didn't speak to him for 12 years. Best decision I ever made. My daughter only called when she needed money, adds Eleanor from the building across the street. Setting boundaries saved my retirement and my sanity. The court grants my restraining order against Ryan the following Tuesday. The judge also orders financial restitution, which will take him years to pay on his meager income. Word spreads quickly through my parents' small town. Mom is forced to explain to her church friends why Ryan has community service hours. Dad's golf buddies suddenly have scheduling conflicts. The facade is cracking. Late Thursday night, my phone lights up with my father's name. I almost decline the call, but something makes me answer. Camille. His voice sounds strained, unfamiliar. We may have made some mistakes. I say nothing, letting silence fill the line. Your mother and I think it's time we all sit down to discuss everything. He clears his throat. As a family. The invitation arrives by text the next morning. A family meeting at their house, Sunday at noon. I look at the message for a long time before typing my response. On Sunday, I arrive 10 minutes early to the family meeting. My car idles in the driveway while I study the house where I grew up. The chipped blue paint on the mailbox. The crooked front steps Dad always promised to fix. The garden gnome Mom bought at a garage sale 20 years ago, now faded from cheerful red to a washed-out pink. They're waiting in the living room when I walk in. Mom, Dad, and Chloe arranged like a tableau of family concern. Ryan's absence is conspicuous. Camille. Mom rises from her armchair, arms outstretched for a hug I don't return. We're so glad you came. Dad's smile is tight, his eyes darting between my face and the stack of papers on the coffee table. Have a seat, honey. I settle into the lone chair opposite the couch, keeping my purse on my lap. The house smells different. No potpourri or scented candles. The refrigerator in the kitchen isn't humming. Small signs of belt tightening. We've been thinking, Mom says, her bracelets jangling as she gestures, though I notice they're costume jewelry now instead of silver. There's been a misunderstanding about the will situation. Dad clears his throat. We spoke with our attorney. There's a way to put you back in, equal shares. We just need to sign these papers. Chloe, uncharacteristically quiet, picks at a thread on her jeans. Her nails aren't freshly manicured. Of course, Mom adds, we're still facing some temporary financial challenges. The house payment is 3 months behind. Dad leans forward, his voice dropping. Foreclosure is a real possibility, Camille. Not something you'd want on your conscience, considering how long this has been the family home. You owe us this much, Mom says, her voice hardening. After everything we sacrificed raising you. The room goes silent. I can hear the wall clock ticking, the same one that hung there when I was a child sitting at the kitchen table, calculating how to stretch my first paycheck to cover Ryan's baseball equipment. I open my leather portfolio, new, purchased to match my company's branding. I've made some changes too. I say, my voice steadier than it's ever been in this house. I established my own consulting firm 3 months ago. We have 7 clients already, and I've hired 3 employees. I slide across photos from my phone, me in a Tokyo conference room, shaking hands with executives. That's my first international client. We're implementing their new security system next quarter. Mom's eyes widen. Dad's mouth opens, then closes. I bought a condo overlooking Lake Washington. Another photo. And I'm taking vacation time for the first time in 8 years. Iceland next month, Morocco in the fall. Chloe stares at the photos, something like hunger in her expression. I don't regret helping family. I continue. I regret allowing myself to be exploited. Do you know what the money I gave you would have done in my retirement account? It would have doubled. Twice. I close my portfolio with deliberate care. I can forgive you, but I won't finance you. That chapter is closed. Mom's face reddens. So you're just abandoning us? After all, Let me show you something. I walk to the kitchen, the very space where I'd stood countless times as they outlined their latest financial emergency. The granite countertops I'd paid for gleam under the pendant lights that were also my contribution. I set my laptop on the island and turn it toward them as they follow me in. This went live last week. The Facebook post fills the screen. At the top, a simple headline, A Daughter's Decade of Support. Below it, meticulously organized, are scanned checks, renovation receipts, text message screenshots, and bank statements. Each item is dated, annotated with what it paid for, and whether it was freely given or requested under duress. Mom gasps as she sees the comment count. 1,246. Those are our neighbors, your church friends, my old classmates, I say. People who watched you take and take while calling me selfish. You had no right, Mom whispers. I had every right. I'm not the ungrateful daughter. I was the silent backbone of this family. The front door opens and closes. Ryan appears in the kitchen doorway, freezing when he sees me. His shoulders slump. Dad collapses into a kitchen chair, suddenly looking his age. We took advantage of your success, he says quietly. We got comfortable with it. Comfortable? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. You got entitled to it. Mom's phone pings with a notification. She glances down, then quickly away, but not before I catch a glimpse of the real estate app open on her screen. Is that a listing for this house? I ask. No one answers. Chloe studies her shoes. I heard Kensington Market is hiring cashiers, I say to Mom. And isn't Builders Depot always looking for weekend help? I glance at Dad. Ryan leans against the doorframe. Chloe has an interview at Sunsplash Tanning tomorrow. The influencer dream evaporated. I close my laptop and slide it into my bag. I should go. As I walk to the door, I hear Dad's voice behind me. Camille, wait. I turn. What do we do now? He asks, looking older than I've ever seen him. The same thing I did, I say. You work, you earn, you build something real. I step outside into the sunshine, knowing the family home will soon appear on real estate websites, its listing joining thousands of others. The difference is, this time, I won't be the one paying to save it. 3 years later, I built something meaningful and found my peace. I angle my camera toward the morning sun, streaming through my studio windows, capturing how it illuminates the enlarged photos on my wall. Iceland's northern lights, Morocco's ancient Medinas, Japan's cherry blossoms. My fingertips trace the glossy surface of my first published travel photography series, Tangible Proof of Dreams, delayed but not abandoned. My phone buzzes with notifications, but unlike years past, they're messages from clients praising my latest consulting project and a photography magazine requesting an interview. No desperate texts about leaky roofs or overdue credit cards. No guilt-laden voicemails about family emergencies requiring immediate financial intervention. I check my calendar, smiling at the blocked-off weeks marked Patagonia Expedition and Northern Italy Workshop. Where family obligation dates once dominated, adventure now awaits. The weight I carried for so long has lifted, leaving room for something I barely recognized at first possibility. My phone buzzes again, this time with a text from Ryan. For your information, Mom and Dad's house sold yesterday, way below asking. Thought you should know. 3 years ago, this message would have sent me spiraling into panic and guilt. I would have calculated how much I could transfer from my savings to help them avoid financial disaster. Now, I simply acknowledge the information with neither joy nor sorrow. Getting cut out of the will once felt like betrayal. Now I see it was liberation. Their attempt to punish me became the gift I couldn't give myself permission to prioritize my own life. The irony isn't lost on me that their final act of manipulation ultimately freed me to build something beautiful from the ashes of obligation. You were right. I text back. I did need to know. I wish them well. I set down my phone, returning to my photographs without the familiar knot of anxiety tightening my chest. That evening, Sarah arrives first, carrying a bottle of sparkling wine. James follows with a platter of cheese and fruit. Margaret, my former neighbor who became something more, a mentor, perhaps even the mother figure I needed, brings flowers from her garden. To Camille, Sarah raises her glass in my small but warm apartment, where prints from my exhibition line the walls. To chosen family and hard-won freedom. We clink glasses, the simple sound more meaningful than elaborate family holiday dinners ever were. These people expect nothing from me beyond authentic connection. They celebrate my success without diminishing it, support my boundaries without testing them. Excuse me, a voice interrupts our toast. A tall man with kind eyes stands at the edge of our small gathering. I'm Ethan Moore. Your landscape work is extraordinary, especially the series on Pacific Northwest forests. The way you've captured light filtering through those ancient trees is remarkable. He speaks about my work, not what I might provide. The distinction feels refreshingly unfamiliar. 2 weeks later, I stand in an empty commercial space with high ceilings and north-facing windows. Perfect light for a studio. My consulting firm has grown to 5 employees, and I've just submitted an application for a prestigious photography residency program in New Zealand. Walking back to my car, I pass the local grocery store. Through the large front windows, I glimpse a familiar profile at the checkout counter, Diane, scanning items with mechanical efficiency. Our eyes meet briefly through the glass. There's no dramatic confrontation, no tears or recriminations, just quiet acknowledgement of our separate paths before I continue walking. As I unlock my car, I wonder if true forgiveness means allowing someone back into your life, or simply wishing them well from a distance. When someone has taken advantage of your generosity for years, what does healthy forgiveness look like to you? Perhaps it's not about forgetting, but about finding the strength to remember without bitterness, and to build something new with the lessons they inadvertently taught you.